handle calls and texts together like a shared inbox.
It's time to talk Padres baseball.
This place is electric.
Our 97.3 The Fan staff is together to break down everything, both on and off the field, with the San Diego Padres in our commercial-free Epic Padres Roundtable, sponsored by Epic Wings. Buckle up, Friar Faithful. We've got a lot to discuss. Now, here's your host, Chris Ello.
Very good. They took Ben's name out of there. I was all ready to surprise everybody. Yeah, it is me, Chris Ello, filling in for Ben today, but the rest of the gang is here. Sam, if you're done tying your shoes, we can get the show started over here. Unbelievable. Live television and radio, everybody. It is the Epic Padres Roundtable, an hour of commercial-free Padre talk brought to you by our good friends at Epic Wings. Always fresh, never frozen. Epic Wings, a San Diego institution. I think they're older than you, Braden Surprenant. They opened their first location here back in 1982.
That is definitely older than me.
A little older than you. Let's introduce the crew today. I'm Chris Ello. As you know, Ben is off today, but Braden Surprenant is right here. National baseball writer, longtime expert, Kyle Glaser. Good to have you as our celebrity guest panelist today, Kyle. And who are you?
I'm Woodsy, and you get to see what it's like to suffer without Ben, because I just had to do it for 3 hours. It was a train wreck. He's so smooth. He's brilliant with transitions.
He's in and out of all this stuff.
And, we're all hurting today with him being out.
Yes, we'll be haltingly making it through the next hour.
100%.
But Sammy Levitt has got his shoe tied. He's on the end. He's ready to go.
He's done eating his carrots and
he was eating carrots. I mean, my goodness, this is crazy. Hey, welcome to it, everybody. All right, a lot to talk about. Obviously, the Padres fell last night in Colorado 8-3. However, gentlemen, I think on the surface, right, they've won 14 of 17. They are still tied for first place in the NL West. 16-8 is the record. If they win today, they'll win their sixth series in a row. So let's start with you, celebrity guest Kyle Glaser. What's your kind of general take on the first month or so of the season for the Padres?
First and foremost, we see this every year. No matter who they lose in free agency, no matter what injuries hit the pitching staff, you can pretty much pencil the Padres in to be top 10 in baseball in ERA, strikeouts, and WHIP. And once again, that's the case so far this year. Lose Dylan Cease in free agency, lose Yu Darvish for the season due to injury. Joe Musgrove opens the year on the IL. You lose Nick Pivetta. Doesn't matter. They're still one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. And that really is a testament to what they have built from a scouting and player development perspective. They identify pitching incredibly well in the draft and trades and free agency. And they do a great job once they get these guys into their system, really helping them get better, whether they're veterans, career relievers turning to starters, young guys. It doesn't matter what their pitch mix is. It doesn't matter where they are in their career. Ruben Niebla, Ben Fritz, and the entire Padres pitching infrastructure again and again gets the best from these guys. And that's why the Padres are where they are. This offense is bottom 10 in baseball in pretty much everything. They are where they are because of their pitching staff yet again.
Yeah, that is, yes, you're right. It's nothing new. And we'll get into some of those offensive numbers on offense in a minute here, Braden Surprenant. But overall, I think we got to be pretty pleased, especially after a 2-5 start. Last night notwithstanding.
Yeah, exactly. Last night notwithstanding. But you're going to get games like that when you've won, I don't know how many in a row that they had, and how many games that they were on. But I mean, I remember doing the shows like, the weekend of like when they go to Boston, and they lose the game to Boston on that first day of that weekend series on Boston's opening day. And like social media is like, this team's never going to make the playoffs. This team is terrible. Like, I think all these guys are washed. Like, I'm just going to be the guy that just tells everybody right now, this team's going nowhere. 70 game ceiling. It's like, it's 7 games. They went 2-5 in 7 games. They're in last place in the National League. And then they started to figure it out. They get the pitching going a little bit. They get timely hitting. The offense is not great, but the thing with the offense, though, is they find different ways to win, and so they're finding different areas to create runs and be able to put themselves in the position they are right now. So as much as like, yeah, we have a problem with Manny not swinging the bat and Merrill's down and Tatis isn't any home runs and all this, they're still tied with the same record the Dodgers have through the first however many 24 games it's been.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Sam, I'm going to save you for last because I'm not sure your shoes are tight enough. Go to Woodsy here. How's your inbox these days, Mr. Woods?
It depends, man. Last night I had hitting the amateur hitting coaches in my inbox,
okay.
And I get those, and I try to engage, but it does get a little exhausting.
Never engage.
I know it's hard.
On social media, I get them all the time. Just don't engage.
It's hard. It's just I see it. I see it too. I also happen to know that it's such a hard thing to do, and when you're not swinging it well, it just kind of compounds. And that's one thing we've been talking about a lot on our show is that, yeah, Manny's not swinging it at all, really well, but at least he's taking walks. Fernando's not swinging all that well. At least he's driving in runs. Jackson Merrill is still able to affect the outcome.
You're finding
of the game.
A silver lining.
Yeah, I am. And because at the end of the day, it is a results-based business. And I don't care how you get there. At the end of the game, I don't care how you manage to scratch and claw out a win. I said it the other day. They won that 1-0 game, and I go, yeah, but that's one of those games like you almost got to flush. You flush a win and then flush last night's loss, and it's equal for me. Like, we did not have our best performance, and we found a way to win a ball game. Last night, we just didn't play well. We didn't hit. We had a little bit of bad luck and some bad pitching. So it's going to happen, man. There's a ton more games. I like this team. I like Craig so far. He lives in the middle. Schulte was a little bit high strung. Bob Melvin was a little bit too low. And Stammen's just kind of lives right in the middle. Can't get too high or low.
The Goldilocks of the manager.
Yeah, just kind of
just right
in the middle.
Woodsy, that was a really good answer, but it was almost too good. It's almost as if you looked at my entire rundown.
I did not.
I think you hit on everything I was going to ask later on.
You got to stop leaving your computer up.
So
we can repeat.
So that is the end of the roundtable.
All right, see you guys tomorrow.
Let's go down to Sammy Levitt. Sammy, I don't know what the opposite of a silver lining is, because I think we're all looking at that silver lining with the 16-8 record. But I guess it could be, a little worse if things weren't working perfectly for them late in ball games, especially right now.
Yeah, let me preface this by saying, and I think Woodsy had a really good answer, and one of your mantras, Woodsy, is we don't complain about wins, right?
Never.
When you sit 16-8, you have one of the best records in baseball. You don't complain about it because this game's really hard, and starting the season the way the Padres have is a really, really good thing. There's no doubt about it. They're playing good baseball, and they're simply finding ways to win. I will say this, while the 2-5 start was a small sample size, winning 14 out of 17 is also a small sample size. And I do think when you zoom out a little bit, and it echoes what I said in your show a little bit earlier, when you zoom out, I do think some of the offensive issues over the course of a long year, if they cannot start to get it going a little bit, will start to present themselves a little bit more in the wins and the losses, because we are looking at a sort of small sample size. And to this point, the pitching has been good enough to cover up some of the offensive issues. And by the way, the offense has been very up and down. There was a 12-game stretch before this road trip where they were averaging nearly 6 runs per game and 9 hits per game,
It's
and
in 'em.
hitting a lot of home runs. It's in them, but they cannot afford, I think, to have prolonged stretches like they're having right now. And just looking at the numbers, yes, they need the Mannies of the world, the Cronenworths of the world, the Merrills of the world, Fernando to get the slug going. They're going to need those things over the course of 162. So I think 2 things can be true at once. They're off to a great start. You don't complain about a 16-8 start. At the same time, there are some things, I think, especially offensively, that have to improve and be more consistent for this team to ultimately get to where they want to go.
Let me reframe something, though, real quick, right? It's important to note this is a team that is tied for the 2nd best record in baseball, and I think we cannot lose sight of that. The fact that they are where they are, they're 16-8, with all of their best hitters struggling, actually bodes really well for the future. Look, Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and Fernando Tatis, they're not all going to have sub-700 OPSs over the course of 162. Yeah. Jake Cronenworth's not going to hit a $150 over the course of 162. Good teams find ways to win, even when things are not going well. They scratch and claw. It's easy to win when everyone's hot at the same time. It's when things are not going your way and you have to find those ways to win. That's what makes a good team a good team. And so I want to give the Padres credit for finding ways to win, even when their best players are not carrying the weight offensively. And you know that at some point, again, none of these guys are going to have the numbers they have now when we look up at the end of the season in October. So I do think they're in a good spot because they're going to get more production from Manny, from Merrill, from Tatis, from Cronenworth. And it's just going to make them that much better.
That's Kyle Glaser, longtime baseball writer, and he's our guest host on the Padres Roundtable, presented by Epic Wings, always fresh, never frozen. All right, so they're winning, and we should be happy, but our job is to look at everything from a bit of a slanted eye. And so let's just bring up some of these offensive numbers. They're 21st in runs. They're 19th in batting average, 25th in on base, 23rd in slug, 24th in OPS. They've scored 3 or fewer runs in half their games, 12 of 24. And Campusano's shot last night was the first home run in a week. So is it what Sammy says that, you know, if this continues, we're worried? Or is it more what Kyle says, that we should almost be happy they have such a good record with all of those bad numbers, Braden?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think this is where you look at, you know, some of the underlying metrics and some of the analytics, and what it tells you is they're top 5 in baseball in hard hit percentage. For everybody that when I bring this up on my show, I get all these, you know, traditionalists going like, well, it doesn't matter until like he gets an actual hit. Who cares how hard he's hitting the ball?
Hit them where they ain't.
Braden, that doesn't matter until he gets an actual hit.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Except for the fact that if you look at any type of evaluation of baseball players and any type of tryout, the guy that makes the team is the guy that hits the living crap out of the ball. The guy that plays is the one that hits the living crap out of the ball. And the Padres are hitting the ball extremely hard, and eventually those are going to get through. So I do agree with Sam. Like, they can't continue to do this and expect to get any type of offense. But I also agree with some of the underlying metrics this team has. I mean, you want to talk about Fernando not hitting home runs? Nobody has hit the ball at a higher hard hit percentage in all of Major League Baseball than Fernando Tatis Jr. He's doing it the best, and he's spraying to the opposite field. That's great. The home runs are going to come. So just because he has a 0 on the home runs doesn't mean he can't hit anymore, because he's hit the ball extremely hard. So I think eventually with some of the underlying metrics that this team has, and not all of them, because like Jake Cronenworth's not hitting the ball very well, but there are some players on this team that are hitting a lot better than what the results are getting, and eventually in a larger sample of 162, they will get those results, and I think that's good news for the Padres.
Woods, it's I think you can also make the excuse the last couple of games you've been at Coors Field, not a very good hitter's park.
Yeah, right, totally. You know, the gaps are small.
Yeah, right. It's hard to find an opening there.
Ball doesn't fly there.
That marine layer that rolls in, man,
yeah,
is so thick.
There you go.
It is. I said it too, and I stand by it. You know, I said with all these games at Coors Field and then Mexico City, I'm not going to get super excited if they hit 10 runs. but I am going to get super worried if they hit 1, right? Like, so that was kind of my jumping off point.
Tuesday wasn't really fun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was fun. You get that win, and it's, it hasn't happened since 2006 that the visiting team has won a 1-0 game at Coors. Kind of a fun game to watch and be a part of. But, if they get back from Mexico City and Campy's that only bomb, I don't know, man. Like, I'm a little concerned, right?
There's no question. And I want to go back to, I was being the positive one. Look, like Sammy said, if the numbers stay where they are, if Manny and Tatis and Merrill do have sub 700 OPSs, they're toast. I'm coming from a place of I have faith.
Yeah.
You have to remember it's April. Yep. This is when offense all across Major League Baseball is at its lowest it will be throughout the entire season.
100%.
Guys are still getting their
timing
down.
Can you please tell that to my fantasy baseball pitchers? Because they're all seem to be giving up plenty of runs every night.
Are they scheduled to play the Padres?
Evidently, I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think at the end of the day, you trust the talent. You know where we are in the calendar. At the end of the day, this team has too much talent to be bottom 10 in every offensive category, which, by the way, was not true with last year's team for the first half of the season.
Yep.
But when you look at this roster, 1-9, and also the bench, this is a vastly improved bench. Yeah. There is no reason this team should be or will be bottom 10 in all these offensive categories when we look up in July. And if they are, okay, then you have real problems, but there's just too much talent here for that to happen. There really is.
The Epic Padres Roundtable brought to you by Epic Wings, always fresh, never frozen. Chris Ello and the gang here talking an hour of commercial-free Padre baseball and talking mostly about the offense. But let's go to the news of the week, guys. The signing of pitcher Lucas Giolito yesterday, announced by the Padres. I believe they waited conveniently until your show was over, Woodsy,
on the dot
to give Braden the scoop.
10 a.m. on the dot.
It's nice to see that happen to somebody else once in a while.
Happens to us all the time.
I know Woods texted the Pods like, "Hey man, Braden doesn't get any type of news.
Yeah, Braden needs a little.
You gotta let him break it right at 10.
Braden needs a little spark.
We've broken so little news in the last 8 years. The big news we broke yesterday was that Castillo was going to be playing first base.
You can break
and the manager getting hired, Craig Stammen, you weren't here for.
Correct. I was at Disneyland.
I was on the air with Ben.
That's right.
Giolito's apparently going to join the rotation in mid-May or something like that, which got me thinking, like, has he not been working out or throwing or preparing? So it's still going to take this long.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind
of
no spring
training.
I guess this is
game
the way
reps
it is.
are way different than just throwing 70 pitches.
Good season last year. I mean, this guy's been a top 10 Cy Young guy 2 or 3 times, so he's got some credentials. I'm not so concerned about what we think he'll do. I think, we'll give him a look-see, and I think he can fit in. But I'm looking at Giolito mid-May. Musgrove, you hope Musgrove's coming back soon. Yuki Matsui is still somewhere throwing, I imagine. Estrada's coming back. So, Sammy, let's say all 4 of those guys come back in the next month and everybody else stays healthy. What are they going to do with the roster? They can't fit all these people in there.
Yeah, they're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions when you talk about Cannon coming back and Giolito joining at some point. Yes, in their rotation, when you talk about guys like Buehler and Marquez and Waldron, they are going to have to make tough decisions because Canning and Giolito are going to be on this team and in this rotation. So you're correct. There will be a roster crunch, which you could argue makes the next few weeks for guys like Buehler and Marquez and Waldron going to be very, very important. And you make a good point on the bullpen as well. Yuki Matsui is a guy that they're going to have to activate at some point. And I'll tell you what, Bradley Rodriguez, I can't imagine is the guy getting sent down for him. So
furious.
And a guy like Ron Marinaccio is out of options. Again, they can kick the can down the road a little bit farther on some of these decisions, but you're right. I mean, I think right now, guys like Buehler and Marquez and Waldron, those guys, I think over the next few weeks are going to be battling for their spot in the rotation because you can guarantee right now that 2 guys are coming up to take spots in Canning and Giolito probably by the end of May.
Woodsy, what do you see the rotation looking like, say, 1st of June?
Oh, man. In my perfect world, my perfect world would be Michael King, Randy Vasquez. Those are the only 2 guys that are cemented. Like, you guys are good. You don't have anything to worry about. The other 3, I think they're fighting for their lives right now, their careers potentially. Canning, in the rotation for me. Giolito in the rotation for me. And I just keep thinking back to how much Ruben loves Herman Marquez. And I think maybe he's the guy that they give a longer leash to. I do. I said last week, Ben asked the question, who's the man? I was so sold on Waldron and the changes. And I realized it's just one start. And then today, of course, you have to throw this one out if it goes poorly because it's Colorado. I would like to see Matt Waldron. He's a good dude. I'd like to see him find a role on this team somehow, but I don't know, man. Buehler feels a little odd man out, probably recency bias from last night, but
maybe to the bullpen, which he did with the Phillies, right? Yeah. But then that kicks another guy out of the bullpen.
That's exactly right. And I'm reluctant to give away lefties like Kyle Hart out of the bullpen, Volk guys. Can you find another one? Probably. But it's just, I'm excited for Giolito. He's a competitor. Like he's that competitor. He's a bulldog type dude on the mound, which we need. We had in Nick Pivetta. Don't know when he's coming back, but the Joe and Pivetta question marks. Those are the ones that are kind of scaring me the most.
And that's where I would also say, as much as we talk about this roster crunch, and you're right, there's going to have to be one. You can never have too much pitching.
Correct.
We see that
and
again.
It always works itself out. Like Marinaccio tweaks a groin. I mean, the Dodgers do this better than anybody on the planet.
David Morgan looked a little gimpy coming off.
That's exactly
yesterday,
right. How's that knee?
Give up 2 runs, you're looking gimpy all of a sudden.
That's exactly right.
You have a little bit of elbow soreness. Let's call it, 15-day IL stint, and then you go have some rehab starts.
Start doing it because they do it. They do it in LA, and no one is better. It's like
Braden, what are you gonna? How are you gonna mess with
we
this
did
mess?
this for an hour yesterday on the show, and what it came down to is Canning has to be brought back before the 4th of May. So he's coming back next, which means you got to send somebody out of the rotation. Right now, Waldron's got 2 chances to show that he deserves to be on the team. Yeah. And unfortunately, you got to pitch at Coors Field. Sucks. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
This is what it is.
Life's unfair. I mean, he's just going to have to deal with it. Like, if he goes
didn't bother Randy Vasquez at all.
Yeah,
not even a little.
So, my assumption would be Canning fills in for Waldron.
Yep.
So that moves it around. Now, Matsui has the same date. He has to get brought up. Now, here's the other thing with Matsui. He's owed a lot of money over the next 2 years. Yep. And then he has a $7 million player option the following year. So for everybody that was in my YouTube chat going like, just DFA him, he sucks. It's like, all right, well, then you're just going to eat a ton of money for this guy to go away that you just had a rehab assignment for, and then you're not even going to see him pitch. So now you have to make decisions in the bullpen. So
we have very rich owners now. Don't forget, just so you know, like we have. It's a different ballgame.
So I got news for most Padres fans. Peralta and Matsui, those guys are on the team. You can't get rid of them with the amount of money that you're paying. So now you're going like, do we get rid of Kyle Hart? He's the long relief guy.
It's
but
almost got to be Kyle Hart, doesn't it?
But it has to be Kyle Hart. Now you got like 50,000 lefties in your bullpen.
But who's your bulk guy?
Right. But then you can make maybe David Morgan your bulk guy. It's either going to be Morgan or it's going to be Hart. Morgan's got 2 options. Hart has 1. Yeah. So it's going to be one of those 2. So now you take, let's just say it's Hart. You take Hart off. Well, guess what? Now you got, Jeremiah Estrada's on a 15-day IL.
Right.
Unless he goes to the 60-day IL, that's another decision that has to be made. Now, here's the other thing that we talked about on the show. All right, Giolito's coming back. Yep. And now we did this before Buehler had a rough outing last night. So let's say Buehler continues to pitch kind of like he has done, 6 innings, 3 runs or less. He's giving you good production. Herman Marquez is giving you good production. You got to make a decision. And a lot of people are like, what about a 6-man rotation? Okay, fine. 6-man rotation. As long as they're going 5 or 6 innings, it's not going to kill the bullpen. But now you got to take somebody else out of the bullpen. And you're running out of options to the point where it's like, all right, I'm going to have Ron Marinaccio, who's got no options left, or I'm going to have Bradley Rodriguez, who has pitched the best out of anybody else, but he has 2 options. Now, correct. Somebody's got 3 options back there. His name is Mason Miller, but I'm just saying, I'm just kidding.
Give him a little breather down in El Paso.
But, to me, I think it's going to be, unfortunately, considering the circumstances, the decision's going to be, unless somebody gets hurt, of course.
Right. Yeah.
Do we want Marinaccio part of this team, or are we going to send down a guy that's got options that's one of our best bullpen arms in Bradley Rodriguez? Because I think Morgan and Hart are going to be 2 that are going to come off the list.
If you send Bradley down, you tell me. We don't.
I don't. Well, I'm not saying
winning
that.
Isn't important.
I'm not saying that's right, but that is your decision.
But let's be clear. David Morgan has not pitched nearly as well this year as he has last year. If you send him down to AAA, no one's going to blink twice.
Right.
Kyle Hart, as much as we talk about the bulk guy, he's not getting the job done.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's Houston down. So I think we're overcomplicating this a little bit. I think there are two very obvious candidates with options. You can send that down. And the other part of this is we're expecting everything's going to go perfectly. Everyone's going to be healthy when they're supposed to be healthy. No one else is going to get hurt. And we know that's just not how baseball works. So look, as much as we talk about Nick Pivetta and Joe Musgrove, Griffin Canning, who I love, he has great stuff. He has a long injury history. There's no guarantee that he's going to come back and be as healthy as he needs to be and stay as healthy as he needs to be. That's something he's struggled with his entire career. Lucas Giolito is, again, great. He also missed all of the entire 2024 season with an injury. So things happen, and you find ways to make it work with IL stints, different options. I'm not that worried about it. It's better to have too much than not enough, and you can make it work.
I think it's possible. Sorry, Braden. Do you think it's possible we can get an exemption like the Dodgers have to carry a 14 pitcher?
Name somebody a
Give
two-way
David
player.
Morgan a bat and tell him to swing it.
20 ABs.
He was a position player initially.
Yeah,
all of them were.
The only thing I think about the injury, though, it's like
good for Craig Counsell, by the way, for bringing that one up.
Yeah.
What you can't do with the injury thing, though, is you can't get into a spot where it's like, all right, we have to make a decision between Germán Marquez and Walker Buehler right now. And then it's like, they're not coming back. Once you DFA them, I doubt they come back because I think they pitch well enough. Somebody might pick them up, and they're definitely not going to be in AAA. And then somebody goes down. Now you got to go to JP Sears or somebody else. So there's going to be some serious roster movement to try to keep as many of these guys part of the organization.
Here's a question I want to ask all you guys. To me, that's an easy answer. Marquez, far and away. I don't think that's a decision. I think if you have to DFA one of them, it's Buehler. Do you guys feel separate differently?
I just, again, based on Ruben, what Ruben told me, how much he's in love with Germán Marquez and thinks he can make him beyond serviceable. And we've seen flashes of that, certainly, right?
I feel like out of Buehler versus Marquez versus Waldron, Marquez feels like the most stable to me. Like, you kind of know what you're going to get. Buehler has looked good. He's also looked very not good. And you could see that if his velocity uptick doesn't hold, you could see where that could go sideways pretty quickly. Can I say one more thing? I want to defend Kyle Hart for a second. I think Kyle Hart has actually been better than a lot of people give him credit for, or if you just go and you quickly look at his ERA.
Right.
Remember, a lot of that damage came in that outing where he went 2 innings and then he was left out there for a third and a lot of inherited runners score. Like, take yesterday. Kyle Hart gives you 2 innings and a third, gives up a run in Colorado, keeps you in a game in Colorado. Even over the weekend in Anaheim, got into some trouble. Bradley got him out of it. Yeah. I think Kyle Hart is actually pretty valuable in this bullpen. Gives you some length. I think he's been pretty good. You can throw him against lefties in that lane if you want to. I just wanted to.
I think that shows how difficult these decisions are, right? Because everybody on this panel has defended at least everybody part of the pitching staff of we can use this guy. You need those guys. They're going to have to get very creative and with the roster. That's what makes this conversation so difficult until unfortunately somebody has a bad injury, and then it's like, all right, well, this solves itself. But they've kicked the can down the road since middle of March, and they have been able to kick the can down the road because they needed to make this decision before the start of the season, but Musgrove started on the IL, and then it's like, all right, well, we got to make a decision soon because Waldron's coming back, and then Pivetta got put on the injured list, which goes to what Kyle says again. This is, if we didn't come up with this stuff, by the way, I don't know what you would talk about on the radio for an hour. So Kyle, we got to be able to talk for like 4 hours.
That stuff, Brad.
And I do. And one more thing on it, I do think in the very early part of the season, when the question was, Jason Adam, when he comes back pretty quickly after the start of the year, who's going down? It got worked out with Estrada going on the IL. But I think at that time, or at least heading into opening day, my thought on it was, you know what? Bradley is really promising, but you can send him down. What's the worst that happens? He spends a little time in the minor leagues. He'll be back at some point. Great. I don't know how on earth you send that guy down the way he's pitched. Correct. And after what he did on Sunday in Anaheim, I thought that clearly vaulted him into a different tier of this bullpen. It's a good problem to have, but I think it makes those decisions that much more complicated because I don't see a world where you can send him down.
No. Not by putting Padres have activated Yuki Matsui, have sent Bradley Rodriguez down. The riots in the streets.
Yeah, for real.
or at least in Woodsy's inbox.
My
Yeah,
inbox
that's
will
right.
go nuts.
You're enjoying, hopefully, the Epic Padres Roundtable, an hour of commercial-free Padre talk brought to you by our friends at Epic Wings. Always fresh, never frozen. Chris Ello hosting this week for Ben Higgins.
Are those T-shirts over there? Are they just up for grabs?
Yeah, those are for,
Yeah, they
for
brought
you.
them for us.
I might
Are you
take
going to
one of
just run
those.
over there now and do that, or can you hold on till the end of the show?
I'm so excited.
Appreciate
I
it.
can barely wait.
One news item, and we're going to just jump away from the Padres for a second. But last night, Shohei Ohtani's streak of 53 consecutive games reaching base ended. He, at the same time, lowered his ERA on the mound, I think, to 0.38.
Yep.
Ted Williams doesn't get talked about much, but holds the all-time record for most consecutive games reaching base, 84 games in a row.
Unreal.
We hear about Joe D's 56. So I thought for our draft today, everybody would go down the road and pick everybody's all-time favorite baseball statistic or achievement. It can be personal. It can be a team achievement, something that you kind of look at and go, man, that has always amazed me. And do you want me to start? Give you guys a little extra minute?
Go for it.
All right, I'm not going to go with an actual winning streak or hitting streak. I'm going to go with something that amazes me, though. And I heard this a couple of weeks ago, and it stayed with me. Don Mattingly, the should-be Hall of Famer for the Yankees, set the Major League record with 6 grand slams. He hit them in 1985. The thing that is amazing to me is that Don Mattingly in his career never hit a grand slam before that year or after that year.
It's unbelievable.
But he hit 6 in 1 year. And so that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. That's how my mind works on this question. Braden.
I think it's I honestly, like, I think it's kind of crazy how many stolen bases Ricky Henderson has.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
In
like
his career or just the
both.
Oh, yeah,
130 to
yeah.
one season, over 1,400. Like, if you start like trying to do the math of how long of a career you have to, one, have, and then two, how many stolen bases a year you would have to get in order to even come close.
Yeah, and speed doesn't last forever.
I know,
You
right?
what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
It's not right.
know.
I mean, that's not something that that improves over
Right.
time, if you will.
Right.
How
So
many
that
times was he thrown out the year he got 130? I believe it was over 30 times.
Yeah.
So that means he was running every
time.
single time.
And by he still has to get on base.
Yeah,
those
still
times,
gotta get
too.
on base.
Like, he still has to be good enough to get on base and then swipe the bags. To me, that is like just an insane stat that we don't talk about as much as.
And you're never going to
the
see anything
demonic.
like it now.
No, nobody's going to come.
I mean, they
even
tell
with-
guys to stop running midway through the season because they're getting
They're
tired.
getting hurt. Yeah.
And that's even with all the rules changes
Yes,
to make stealing
yes.
bases easier.
That's exactly right.
Kyle Glaser, what do you have?
My favorite one is more men have walked on the moon than have scored an earned run against Mariano Rivera in the postseason. There have been 12 men to walk on the moon. Mariano Rivera surrendered 11 earned runs in the postseason in his career. And again, we're not talking about a guy who, only pitched,
he
in
pitched a lot.
two or three
Pitched a
postseasons.
ton, yeah.
16 postseasons, 11 earned runs in 16 years of playoffs pitching.
That is a great stat, but don't look now, Mariano, but you soon may be the second greatest reliever of all time.
No question. Mason Miller,
He's
it's like,
closing in.
you got to get this guy to the playoffs. I
Wow.
mean, we saw him in Chicago
Yeah.
last year.
What do you think about Woodsy?
For me, it starts and stops, and it always has with 511 wins. I can never wrap my head
Cy
around.
Young?
I can never wrap my head around 511. It will not even be sniffed ever.
Did they have different rules of how you got to win back then? I wonder. I don't
I
think
think
so.
the rules were the same.
Yeah.
That dude just pitched like 3 days a week.
Right. You started 40, 50 games a year.
It's crazy.
And you pitched 9 innings the entire, there was no,
Every game.
That guy's just the pitcher.
It blows my mind. Hey, like, that's the one
Yeah.
where I go, look.
Is that more outlandish than Ryan 5,714 strikeouts, which is almost
That's
2,000 ahead of the next guy?
That's exactly and I grew up in Texas, so I was watching Nolan pitch a lot, and it blew your mind at the age that he did it, and but for me, 5'11" is so far out of reach. I can get my head around a 56 game hitting streak. I can, and we've seen some semi close. Tony, Paul Molitor was close when I was a kid. Nothing's really threatened it. That makes sense in my head. Yeah. That it's possible. No one will sniff 5'11". no chance.
Sammy Levitt, what do you think about?
Yeah, I mean, the one that first comes to mind is the Cal Ripken record, because you look at it, I think Matt Olson right now is the longest.
And Matt Olson is 13 years away from even getting close.
Right, and he's at like 700, 800.
They would never let you now.
No,
you wouldn't even be allowed to do it.
And you have to play for such a long time.
And they probably shouldn't have let Cal do it. Back then at the end of their career.
I'll give you another one that recently came to mind, because the Mets lost 12 in a row. Phillies have also lost 8 in a row.
Yeah.
The 1961 Phillies lost 23 consecutive games. Now, remember, the White Sox just a couple of years ago lost 21 in a row. But what's amazing to me about those losing streaks, and why 23 just seems like something you can't even fathom, is because, you see, like the Mets, they lost 12 in a row. How unbelievable that is.
They're barely halfway there.
You're talking about a streak that's barely halfway there, and a terrible baseball team loses 100 games. That's a bad baseball team, right? They still win almost 40% of their games.
You know that the longest losing streak last year that the Rockies had, one of the worst teams in history, 8.
Right. Yeah. Right. So
they didn't approach the 23.
23 is
it's like almost impossible.
You know what's another one that blows my mind is this. We're kind of numb to it now because we've probably seen it 1,000 times. Fernando's dad hitting 2 grand slams in one inning.
Today's the anniversary.
Even better that I brought that up.
Today's the anniversary. So what better night tonight to get your first on your dad's day?
Does Fernando Tatis call Chanho Park today and they celebrate together?
Can you go out there and pitch for me?
That's one will never happen again.
How about Chanho gave them both up? They didn't even take them out of the game.
That whole scenario, you'll also never see a 107-mile-an-hour line drive go into a pitcher's jersey again. I feel pretty confident about that. We saw it last night. We're seeing all kinds of things we've never seen before, but I did think today, when I saw it, today was the anniversary, I believe, of the 2 grand slams. What a nice day to get on the board for Tatis Jr.
Do it. Yeah. I have to end with one more, because I think Chris Davis, the A's outfielder, from the 2015 to 18, 4 years in a row, he batted 247.
That's
impossible.
Mind-boggling.
Right.
Absolutely impossible. And he played a good amount in all of those 4 years.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Adam Dunn had something. So he had exactly 40 home runs. I forget how many years in a row it was, but Adam Dunn had something very similar.
There's a lot of them out there, and we could probably finish the show with it. But let's get back to the Padres. And earlier this week, guys, our esteemed leader, Adam Klug, filled in producing for me on Monday, and he invented a new device. It's called the Worryometer.
Oh, man.
And it's basically a scale from 1 to 10 on how worried you are about something that's going on, or in this case, a Padre player. So I'm going to give each of you one guy, and then you can break down where you are in the Worryometer. We've touched on a few of these guys already. Sammy, I'll start with you. Manny Machado, Worryometer on a scale of 1 to 10. The higher number is the more worried. His last, with all the other stuff, OPS and blah, 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 his last extra base hit was April 1st. This is Manny Machado. How worried, Sam, from 1 to 10?
I'd put it at a 2. I can't get there with Manny yet. He's been too good for too long. And this is one of these situations where you look at the back of the baseball card and you say, in all likelihood, this guy's going to end up with his numbers right where they normally are. And we've seen Manny get off the slow starts before and certainly go through big time cold stretches before and follow it up with 3-4 weeks where he's scorching hot. Yeah. So it's one of those things.
If he wants to start that streak now, though, it wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings.
I mean, on April 22nd, 23rd, whatever it is, I can't get there with Manny. Now, if you're sitting here in June, July, much like we talk about the offensive numbers,
you raise it higher than a 2.
Then it goes a little bit higher than a 2 for this reason. Manny is getting older. He's getting into his mid-30s. And should there be a year where all of a sudden you look up in the middle of the summer and the numbers aren't anywhere near where they usually are, and he's had years where the first half has been slow, I think the questions will start creeping into people's minds of, is this a little bit of a guy?
I want to see you be
older?
The first to ask him about it.
But the reason it's at a 2, I'm not even close to there yet, and you've got to see way more evidence to get to that conclusion. So until further notice, I am very unconcerned.
You're good
about
on
Manny.
There's positives with age too. Like Adrian Beltre had a pretty good career in his mid to late 30s too. He didn't just fall off a cliff.
Right, doesn't end.
Right.
All right, well, I'm going to skip you, Woodsy, because I got one to save at the end for you.
Okay.
Kyle Glaser, everyone else has talked about Tatis. Where are you with Fernando's no home runs and only 4 extra base hits through 24 games?
I'm going to go with 3. I still go back to, again, as Sammy said, it's April 23rd.
And he's hitting the ball so hard.
He's making hard contact. Now, a lot of it has been on the ground. There's been a lot of kind of choppers that maybe don't want to. You want to see him maybe squaring some balls up and really driving them into the gaps more. But every single player in Major League Baseball will have a 3-ish week stretch where they're not having their best outcomes, whether it's due to their swing plane, whether they're nursing an injury. Like every single player will have a stretch where maybe the power is not what you want. There's more strikeouts than you want. And when it happens at the beginning of the season, people freak out a little more, as opposed to if the exact same stretch happens in the middle of July. He's too talented. When we look up at the end of the year, Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to have his 30 doubles. He's going to have his 20-plus homers. He's going to have a bunch of triples. My concern would be, again, like Sammy said with Manny, if we get into July, then you start to wonder about, the multiple wrist surgeries he's had, how that's affecting him long term. But right now,
we're a ways away.
It's a 3 at most.
All right, worryometer, Braden, I'll give you a little tougher one. I think Jake Cronenworth right now, 149, 4 RBIs. That's, we don't expect league leading totals there from Jake, but that's pretty low.
It is pretty low, and I think but I'm going to give it like a 6.5, and I'm going to say 6.5 because, we had a guy, we had Chris in Scripps Ranch call in, who played in the big leagues for the Orioles for a while, and he talked about the swing path that Jake has and his uppercut swing that he has. And so Frank and I looked at the analytics of his swing path and ran the numbers, and that's exactly what's wrong. He's literally trying to just hit every ball over the fence, and he has hit his approach on his swing degree-wise is way above the sweet spot of 5 degrees to 20 degrees. He is up to like 25 degrees, even up to 30 degrees on breaking ball pitches, which leads to a lot of ground balls. I'm watching him. He looks like he's trying to make that adjustment. Obviously, this is information the Padres definitely have. So I think you got to give him a little time to figure it out. But my biggest concern is what he said in spring training about he wanted to go back to being the guy that hits home runs in the gaps. And I was like, when he was like 28 years old, he's not 28 years old anymore. Yeah. He's not that player. And to me, it's like he should be trying to just hit the gaps and be the guy that he is currently getting paid to be. And I think when he comes to that realization, he could really unlock something for himself and the Padres. But until that point, I'd be a little worried about what Jake's doing.
All right, Woodsy, I saved this one for you. Okay. Nick Castellanos.
Ooh, yes.
And I don't know that this is a worryometer as much as what do you think they're going to do and how long do they, ride with this guy? He's in a 1 for 25 with 10 Ks slump. OPS is 404, which isn't even register really.
Right.
Probably didn't help that ball whizzed past him last night at first base either. So,
correct.
Where are you at with Nick?
We asked Craig Stammen I asked Craig Stammen about him yesterday, and we have a lot of body language experts. We have a lot of hitting coaches. We have a lot of people that read between the lines. It's kind of our job to pick up on it. So when I asked him about it, he wasn't like, "Oh, Casty's good. He's fine. He's great." It was a bit of a, he's getting used to a new role, but he is a leader in the club. The guys like him. They gravitate toward him. But man, you need production. You need production out of those guys, and he's not getting a ton of time. And he was robbed early. I was like, man, when he got
that
here,
might have really helped kickstart.
Yeah, I said, man, he is scorching the ball. He's on the heater, like on the higher the velo, the better it was for Nick Castellanos when he first got here. Yeah. And he got robbed a couple times. Playing time started to dwindle, and it's not going well. I don't know that he makes it the entire season. I don't. I like the dude a lot. I think he's we get in a brawl. I want Nick Castellanos on my team, period, always.
Yes.
And you need guys like that. But, you also need guys that can produce. And there's a guy tearing it up in in the minors right now, and Jace Bowen, who came over from the Pirates, and has some talent and has a little bit of a younger dog in him, as they say. So listen, there's you got to produce. You got to produce when called upon. And he's a defensive liability anywhere you put him. He doesn't run well. So it's like, if you're not hitting.
Stammen going to he's a nice guy, but on your show is kind of telling.
Did you hear it?
Yeah.
Did you hear it?
We replayed it. He's like,
he's okay.
You can only have so many right-handed cornerbacks on your bench.
Right.
Miguel Andujar and Ty France have solidified that they belong on this team.
100%.
There's an element of odd man out here.
Yeah.
And look, obviously, no one wants to see anyone lose their job or fail. That's not what anyone wants to see. But at the end of the day, this is a results-based business.
Yep.
You need to have a balanced lineup and a balanced roster. You can't carry 3 right-handed cornerbacks on your bench.
3 first baseman, third baseman. That's it.
DH corner guys. And right now, Andujar and France are ahead in the pecking order.
That's
they just are.
Yeah.
The Epic Padres Roundtable, sponsored by Epic Wings, always fresh, never frozen. We're rolling here to the top of the hour and finishing up 60 minutes of commercial-free Padre talk. All right, there's one last guy that I didn't mention yet on the worryometer.
Are you worrying about him?
I'm going to let everybody have a crack at how worried you are about Mason Miller.
Oh, God.
I mean, come on. I've got no more superlatives yet, but I looked up a couple anyway.
Yeah.
31 consecutive scoreless appearances. He's only allowed 6 hits since that Gurriel home run last August.
Yeah.
19 of the 31 games, he retired the side in order. 9 times he struck out the side. What else is left? Sammy Levitt, how worried are you that he could keep this up?
Well, I'm not. My worryometer for Mason, the pitcher, is at 0.
Yeah.
My worryometer for the streak, I put it at like a 2 because it just seems inconceivable that you could keep going without giving up a run somehow, some way, because you just see it like with the Gurriel home run last August in Arizona, like you just fear that there's some guy that's just going to totally sell out.
Close his eyes. Yeah.
And
you know how jarring that's going to be? You know how jarring that's going to be for our fan base?
So,
it's going to be nuts.
But he has certainly shown no signs of that happening anytime soon because he's been so good. He's so unique. I mean, to have that velocity with his ability to land a breaking pitch in any count is truly one of a kind.
Yeah. 0. I mean, dude, I never want to see him in another uniform ever. And I do realize if this team headed south and the thought of what you could get for him with 3 years remaining, 3.5 years remaining on his deal is so staggeringly unbelievable. Don't care.
No, he's
still want him.
We're not letting him go.
I can't have him.
We always have to have a great reliever.
I can't have him.
Right?
I can't have him in an Orioles uniform.
Kyle, let me ask you a little bit about Mason Miller's chances to compete for a Cy Young Award. Gagne was the last to do it. It's been over 20 years for a reliever, but many relievers have won it. I brought this up last week. Mark Davis won the Cy Young with the Padres. He wasn't this good. I mean, right? So I mean, at one point, do the writers and people have to start considering what he's doing as Cy Young material?
I told you, when Shohei goes to prison, that's the only time that's ever going to happen. Ever.
He didn't say if. He said when.
Yeah, when.
Tax evasion.
Well,
obviously.
I can tell you, as someone who is an awards voter and has been an awards voter, it is something people are considering beyond just San Diego. It is harder today for a reliever to win because with the proliferation of analytics and all the again, WAR, but even the deeper level stuff, there has been a general, how should I say this? I would say almost a disrespect shown toward relievers. Oh, they're just relievers. They don't matter.
They're a dime a dozen to a lot of teams now.
Right. And I think so. There is an element of that, and that will hurt Mason Miller. That said, again, is he really not going to allow a single run the entire season? I find that hard to believe, as amazing as he is. There's going to be, some pitch where he throws a fastball, a guy's on it, and it goes. It's going to happen at some point. As
he can't keep up a 71% strikeout rate either.
But if we look up at the end of the year, and he's got an ERA in the low ones or sub ones, and his strikeout rate is over 50%, and if there isn't an obvious dominant starter in the National League, if Paul Skeens
Because they put Shohei in jail.
Tax evasion.
or
as I mentioned.
even if Shohei, you know, when we look up, as great as he is, he's only thrown 130. His career high is 140 innings.
Yeah.
Or if, you know, Paul Skeens, you know, doesn't have a Paul Skeens year, I think there's absolutely a scenario where he wins. Again, it's a long season, and it's going to also come down to what people around him do. Because if a dominant starter has a year where they have a sub-2 ERA, the voters are going to lean that way. They just are, like Paul Skeens did last year.
And they probably should.
But if it's a year where you look up and it's Mason Miller and the best National League starter is kind of in, you know, I mean, it sounds crazy. A high 2 ERA is great, but it's going to come down to what else is happening around him. But I'm not going to sit here and say it can't happen or won't happen.
Kyle Glaser is our guest host. We're on the Padre Roundtable. We're heading into the 7th inning stretch, guys. So we'll go off baseball for a minute, as Ben likes to do. I'm just going to go down the row. Everybody gives me their go-to Netflix show or streaming show. And also you give me the one show that everybody tells you to watch, but it just hasn't worked for you.
Okay, I love this.
Let's start. Braden, is it too early to start with you? Do you need a moment?
I mean, right now I'm watching a show called Letterkenny. It's pretty funny.
Yep.
It's like, you know, it's up in Canada. It's based in Canada. It's pretty funny show.
The hockey show?
No, it's the one that started the Shoresy hockey show. It's kind of the thing. Yeah.
Right.
That's one. You know what I can't get into at all is Game of Thrones. I just cannot. I'm not into that stuff.
That's fair.
My dad watches it. A lot of his friends watched it. A lot of people
Any
I know,
of
a lot of my friends
haven't worked for you?
No, I'm not into anything with dragons and stuff like that.
Right.
That's not my deal.
Yeah.
Kyle, what do you have on the streaming service?
So my go-to show is the Letterkenny spinoff Shoresy.
Oh, nice.
Everyone knows me as a baseball guy, but I also grew up playing hockey, love the sport, and I just it's authentic and I love it and it's hysterical. So Shoresy is my go-to for sure. The show that everyone's into that I have to walk away. Love is Blind. My wife likes it.
Yes. My wife too.
So many people love it.
I would settle for Love is Blind after all the other stuff my wife watches.
It makes me like angry and I'm like, it's just so ridiculous. It's one of those things, like there's some shows my wife or others watch where I can at least sit and have it on in the background while I'm scrolling or something. Can I even do that with Love is Blind? I just
Southern Charm.
I have to leave the room. It's so I can't do it. I can't do it.
Woodsy, I know this is a topic dear to you.
Yeah, man. Netflix right now. I'm watching a show called Beef. It's
Beef's good. How's the second season as good as?
Fantastic.
It is. Okay.
Yes,
because the first season was really
the
excellent.
first season was so good. It's so stressful. Oh my god! I was watching it last night before bed. I can't watch this before bed anymore.
Be up all night.
It's so good though. And second season, if you liked, what's the show with the hotel? White Lotus. If you like White Lotus, this is kind of that vibe. It's not a resort. It's a country club though. So there's a little bit of that White Lotus vibe, which I love. And the show, it is truly it's my fatal flaw. I have never been able to get into The Wire, and I have tried so many times.
Me too, I've read that it's the greatest show ever.
And
I never made it.
And I keep trying, and I keep attempting and hoping that it will click. Yeah. And I've tried and tried. Oh, you got to get to this. I'm like, all right, I got to that. I still don't feel it. Like you feel it, and it makes me nuts. Like it really makes me mad.
I've read so many reviews.
It's my fatal flaw.
They put it ahead of Breaking Bad. They put it ahead of Seinfeld.
Oh yeah,
they put it ahead of every show.
I get roasted for that take. And again, I want to. It's got everything I love. I just cannot watch it.
Doesn't work.
Does it make you question yourself? Like, is there something wrong with me that everyone else loves it?
Yeah. Especially because it's right in the vein of the gritty stuff that I really love.
You're like Principal Skinner.
And I can't watch.
It's not me that's wrong. It's the children that are wrong.
I cannot watch. I've tried so many times to get into The Wire. And I want to like The Wire so much, but I don't.
We're in the same boat. Sam, I'm holding off on you because I can't imagine where your mind goes on this. I am watching a show called
What does that mean?
I don't know. I'm watching a show right now called The Madison. It is the next spinoff from Taylor Sheridan from Yellowstone all the way. Oh, nice. This one has worked for me. It's on Paramount Network.
Nice.
Give it a look-see. The one show that that everybody's told me is the greatest that I didn't like and haven't liked and have tried more than once is Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think that's hilarious. Didn't work for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
So not sure.
I've heard that.
All right,
before.
Sammy, what is your stream? What's on your streaming service? Do you have streaming?
Yeah, I don't really watch TV. I do watch, like, I'll watch reruns of Below Deck on Bravo when I turn on my YouTube TV. Although one of the shows in the last 5 years or so that I have watched is Love is Blind. I have a couple thoughts. Number one, I skip through the pods because I can't do it with the back and forth in the pods. Get me to the engagements, and then I want to see the good stuff once they get engaged and they have to figure it out. So I skip through the pods. I will say the thought has crossed my mind.
What, to go on Love is Blind?
That would be so much fun.
Amazing.
That would be amazing.
You know what?
How do we make it happen?
Yeah, that's probably an easy email.
They would take you in a heartbeat.
Totally.
I think it would be so much fun.
You have to do it.
And you already have a
That'd be a way to
And
get
honestly,
perfect.
Like,
Plus,
if people didn't like me, that's fine. I get plenty of
100%
comments already, so it doesn't matter.
All you got to do is
I won't try to be a villain, but you just never know.
All you have to do is send in and with that, the whatever season comes to an end, and you're picked up.
Do it today.
I think it'd be so much fun.
Sign them up. Somebody sign them up for us,
and you could meet the love of your life.
Kyle, I'm going to give Kyle Glaser the final word because I've heard all your guys' opinions so far on Craig Stammen and the job he's done. We have about a minute left, maybe 45 seconds, Kyle, to your thoughts on 24 games of Craig Stammen.
Real quick, too hot to handle, great trash TV show. Craig Stammen, I think, has done a good job overall. There's always individual decisions you can disagree with about a pitcher gets taken out here, left in here, but on the whole, we're seeing a Padres team that is playing clean, energetic baseball. And ultimately, that's the sign of a good manager. The standards, the accountability, the style of play. So far, so good. Long season. We have to see how it holds up. But so far, I've been happy with what I've seen.
Agreed.
All right, I really loved filling in for Ben today. Thanks,
Great
you guys
job,
made it
hello.
easy. Appreciate that. Hope you enjoyed our Epic Padres Roundtable. Brought to you by Epic Wings, always fresh, never frozen. Ben's back next week. We're all back next week. It'll be the final show for April, the Padres Roundtable. More to come, and I think you're doing a show for an hour.
I got an hour, yeah.
And
I
then
got the pregame show.
Pregame, and then Padres later against the Rockies on 97.3 The Fan. Thanks, everybody.
Hot takes, honest opinions, real San Diego sports talk. You'll get all that and more right here on the Braden Soprennett Show. I'm not holding back. It's the Braden Soprennett Show, weekdays from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Dell PC